This is the Hunt Quietly podcast. I'm Matt Ranella. Good to see you as well.
Yeah.
What'd you do today?
What did I do today? Oh man. Well, took the kids to school, went and got them. Did some work. We were getting a kitchen remodeled and a bathroom remodeled, so had some contractors in the house, just life management.
Yeah.
Did a little bit of work and yeah, life management really.
How many kids you got?
We have 2 girls, 5 and 7.
Oh, you're in the thick of it.
Dude, the thick of it, but it's also awesome, but it's also super thick. Yeah, it's a good recipe.
Yeah. I spent the day trying to figure out what makes there be more or less water in the dirt.
Oh, interesting. Okay, why's that?
We're trying to understand with my work, trying to better understand plant production on rangeland. And
Okay.
obviously, when you think of rangeland, you're thinking of arid or semi-arid environments. So automatically you think that precipitation is what makes there be more or less plant production.
Yeah.
And you're correct in thinking that is the main driver. However, if you graph precipitation on the x-axis and plant productivity, plant production or plant biomass on the y-axis, there's a hell of a lot of scatter along the regression line. Big outliers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm saying biomass produced each year, net primary productivity, which is biomass produced per year on the y-axis, and annual rainfall on the x-axis. And there's just a lot of unexplained variation.
Oh, interesting. There's like absent or like blind spots in the understanding of like the moisture in the dirt.
Well, so the hope is that we get a better understanding of the residual variation after you factor in precip. You have this unexplained variation in plant productivity. We're hoping that by looking at soil water, we could start to understand a little better about the discrepancies.
Do you guys happen to use any sort of hyperspectral imaging
In a sense,
to
I
measure the soil moisture and whatnot?
Well, not to measure soil moisture, but with this project, I mean, one.
I'm multispectral, I guess.
So I don't know. It is like there's these satellite products like SNOTUS, or SNOTUS estimates precipitation in the form of snow.
Yep.
And it integrates a bunch of sources of data, like ground measurements, satellite imagery of snow cover, and some atmospheric variables like vapor pressure and things like that. And it does a better job than just using the rain gauge at the nearest NOAA site. So in that sense, yes, we use it. Well, I'm using hyperspectral imagery.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, fascinating. That's an interesting problem to solve.
But you could see, and this is something I wanted to do for a long time. We have about 40 years of forage production data. at a bunch
Wow.
of different sites.
Mm-hmm.
And um and I've just wanted to, for a very long time, try to understand why rainfall or rain plus snow doesn't do a better job. So yeah, it's been a gratifying exercise. And the two things that I've figured out so far that I think, this is a very complicated project,
Yeah, no kidding.
very, very mathematical, and a lot of code that I've had to write to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything that most of the things I could say, a lot of things that are like provisionally true because I'm not done yet. But I
Mm-hmm.
think 6 months from now, I'll still be thinking that two things that I think are true right now are true. One is that that a lot of the scatter about the regression line is due to measurement error in precipitation that comes in the form of snow.
Mm. Oh, okay.
So NOAA stations don't do, like, rain gauges don't do a good job of measuring snow. This
Mm.
satellite they underestimate it, and then this satellite product SNOTUS overestimates it. So that's one thing that I think will endure, a finding that'll endure after I get done messing with
Yeah.
this.
What put you
Um,
down this path?
just always wanting to better understand,
Oh.
or try to understand, why precipitation alone isn't a solid predictor of forage production, plant production,
Mm.
biomass.
Interesting.
Um, I mean, I'm a rangeland ecologist, so it's in my
Okay.
purview to study
Yeah.
things like this.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I will endure, I believe, is that uh, there's a variable that's kind of a conceptual variable called potential. No, I mean, it's conceptual in a sense, but there's numeric values to it, and it has units. It's called potential of evapotranspiration. And
Wow.
what that is a measure of the atmospheric demand for water.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so it it it's like it's measured in units of length per time, so centimeters per day or inches per week or however. It's how much water would leave the earth through plants
Okay.
and through soil, like in centimeters per day, if water wasn't limiting.
Hmm.
Okay, so if is enough water there, it wasn't so about the water wasn't so in such short supply that the plants couldn't take it up,
Yeah.
and it wasn't in such short supply that it couldn't evaporate. And it's called potential evapotranspiration because evapo is evaporation,
Mm-hmm.
and then transpiration is the water that leaves the soil via the plant. That's called transpiration.
Oh, okay.
So plants have stoma, these little structures, these pores on their leaves. So they take water up through their roots and then exude it through these stoma. Um,
Huh.
and it, like water way down in below, like below, say, 10 inches
Mhm.
in the soil, if it wasn't for transpiration, that water would stay there for, let's say it's wet.
Yeah.
It's very wet, 10 centimeters down and lower, 10 inches down and lower, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Maybe from 10 to 100 inches below the soil, it's very wet, let's say. And there's no plants there on this site this hypothetical site. That
Right.
that zone, that 10 to 100 centimeter deep zone would stay wet for a very long time.
Hmm.
So uh, that the water that leaves that zone and enters the atmosphere is largely leaves that zone and enters the atmosphere through plants,
Hmm.
i.e., evaporation,
Mhm.
water leaving the earth that is not mediated by plants, is a process that's confined to very close to the soil
Yeah,
surface.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Uh,
Huh.
when I was a graduate student, I did this experiment where in a greenhouse where I was growing plants in these pots that were probably 2 foot tall and maybe 10 inches across. They were square. And I grew plants in them for 2 months. And I had to have some controls like pots without plants.
Mhm.
And I watered these pots very heavily when the experiment began and then didn't water them again for 2 months. And the soil in the ones that had plants in them was bone dry, and the soil in the ones that had no plants was almost as wet after 2 months as the day I
Oh, that's
watered
wild.
them.
I've never I guess it totally makes sense, but I've never thought about it. That's interesting.
So anyway, this is a long-winded way of getting to the other thing that I think will remain true is that potential evapotranspiration, this
Mhm.
this variable that quantifies the atmosphere's demand for water,
Mhm.
and it's a complicated function of vapor pressure, wind speed, temperature, solar radiation, is negatively correlated in this part of the world with plant productivity. So hedibus paribus, you know that Latin word hedibus paribus,
Yeah, it sounds really familiar. I don't know how
all
I
else
really did.
equal.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So all else equal, plants produce more biomass during years when evaporative demand or potential evapotranspiration is lower.
Hmm.
So I think that will remain true.
Wow.
So, yeah, those are the two big.
That's a fun project.
Oh, it's super fun. And I've got to learn a lot. I've got to learn a lot by doing this, like a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah. Man, I'm
One
glad
thing I
there's
got
people
to
like
learn was parallel processing because
yeah.
I, I mean one component of this is fitting this hydrologic model uh and to data and to soil water data. So you can imagine, we've got these water sensors in the ground at various depths, and you're trying to predict what they're going to read on any given day. You're trying to come up with a mathematical description of the readings are going to be,
Mhm.
and that's a function of all kinds of other variables. And in fitting that model, running that model is very computationally intensive. So I had to get answers uh, in sufficiently quickly enough, because it's like you adjust certain parameters and refit the model, adjust other parameters,
Mhm.
refit the model again. You got to do that hundreds of times. And if I was just doing that with like one core on my computer, I'd never complete it, so I had to learn how to get all the chords on my computer to like divide and conquer
Oh, wow.
the problem. So I got to learn a little bit about advanced computing,
Yeah, no kidding.
and then I got to learn a lot about some statistical techniques that I've never gotten the opportunity to play with before. So it's been super fun.
Yeah, dude. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a geek.
Dude, I'm glad there's people like you out there finding things out.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it immensely. So yeah, I feel that I'm very blessed in that way, that I like my work that much,
Dude,
you know.
when my only wish for my girls is that they can spend their lives doing something that they sincerely enjoy doing, or that makes them feel. I think we're all meant. There's like something in all of us that we enjoy, and I hope that they find that thing and then like pursue it regardless of what it means. You know, like if it gives them enjoyment and it brings life to them, I hope they find that thing and pursue it.
What greater way to be blessed than to be blessed
Yeah.
with a job that when you're sitting there doing it or standing there doing it or whatever,
Yeah.
you have moments where you think, I wouldn't rather be doing anything else
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So did you say 5 and 8?
Yep. Yeah, they're 5 and 7.
5 and 7. So
Yep.
have they demonstrated any proclivity for anything, or?
Yeah, my oldest is very science driven. She could uh okay. Here's an example. We were at a wildlife refuge up near here this weekend, and there was a blue heron hunting a mouse right off the side of the road where you drive on. And it snatches this mouse, this field mouse, and it starts walking to the edge of the water. And we're like, what's he doing? He's like shaking it. And my oldest goes, he's going to go drown it. And we were like, what? And she's like, yeah, they drowned it. They drown it before they eat it. It softens them up. And we were like, at this point, her facts have been like, she's never got it wrong. She has like a photographic memory of animal facts. She's super into that. Dinosaurs were like her initial jump into like just the animal kingdom, and she absorbs all of the science and all of the like how animals work, the environment, and the nitty-gritty details. And no kidding, that heron walked immediately to the water and starts dunking the mouse to drown it, and
Wow.
then guzzles it down. And my wife and I were just like both of us jaws open, like, no way. So
Wow.
she has a flair for. I would not be surprised if she gets into some sort of biology, or even she's into archaeology and that kind of things. I wouldn't even be shocked if she's a paleontologist one day. And then the youngest one is like very musically driven. Like music is like in her bones. And she's recently gotten onto drumming. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, but she's very smart. She's into like numbers come easy to her for some reason, which they don't to me. But yeah, really, you can start seeing the personality kind of develop a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I'm excited for him.
So you think she picked up on this mouse thing from watching a wildlife documentary of some
100%.
sort?
Yeah,
Okay.
dude, I caught her one day. We would let them watch like, a nature show or whatever. And one day I walk in her room, she was watching like a, I don't know, National Geographic type show. And I walk in and I'm like, what are you watching? And she's watching like one of those survival-ish shows that like they'll do up in like Alaska. And I was like, I'm not kidding around. Like it was helpful for her. She understands the circle. She understands life, death. She understands animals need to eat. Like she has a well-rounded understanding of the circle of life at 7 years old. And it doesn't bother her. She roots for the animals in both scenarios. And she's so grounded in it.
When you say in both scenarios, you mean the prey and the predator?
100%. Yeah. it's all she understands the balance, like actually understands it. And this last so this last year, I go hunting, and in the fall, I'm not like an expert hunter, but I go. It's something good for me, like we kind of discussed previously, and she's never expressed any interest in going. And I was like, "Hey, do you think you'd be able to go?" She goes, "No, I don't really want to." And then this last year, I brought a buck home, and she expressed interest in wanting to go hunting. Like she wants to partake in. Now, I don't know if she'll ever be able to. I don't think I don't know at what age she'd be able to pull a trigger or like actually harvest an animal, but she's wanting to partake in the circle. It's really fascinating and I have not pushed her. I do not push anything on them. My approach to all this stuff is like, I'll expose them to it. I'll take them hiking, take them backpacking, but I always leave a little bit on the table. I always leave a little bit for them to want, if that makes sense. And now they're starting to want it. Now she's wanting to go backpacking more. She wants to put up trail cameras to like learn about animals and things like that. And I'm like, she wants to learn about this stuff. And then she asked me to like, hey, can I go hunting with you? And I was like, what? Wow. Like this is all on her, she's influenced, of course, a little bit, but I'm not begging her to go and I'm not making her go. And I figure that approach, she's knowing her, I'm letting her lead her comfort zone. Like, okay, cool. I'm ready to do the next step. And then you push her a little bit. So yeah, it's really fascinating. She picks it all up from nature shows that we allow her to watch, and she absorbs it. Like I firmly believe she has some sort of photographic memory.
So she roots for the predator and the prey
Totally.
at the same time, like in the same episode at the same time.
Yeah, she gets it. She's excited if the prey, like it depends on how it ends, right? If the lion gets the gazelle, she's down for it. It doesn't bother her. But if the gazelle gets away, she's like, nice.
Either way, she's happy.
Dude, she's totally happy. Isn't that crazy?
That's not the way my brain works. When I watch those shows, if they're focused on the lion, and he's an old lion and he's run down and his ribs are showing, and he's like the center of attention, like he's the main character. I'm like, man, I hope he catches something, that poor old boy,
I've never seen her cry. I've never seen her cry about a live scenario.
But on the other hand, if it's a group of topi and there's a baby and he's like with his mom suckling milk, and then a lion shows up, but it's more that they're focused on the antelope, the topi or whatever. That's like the center of it. I'm like, oh man, I know that lion better not get that little guy,
I'm the same way. And even if they'll get like, because the prey go after, the weak ones, the old ones, the young ones, and I'm like waiting for it to just, this is not going to end well. And I'm looking at her the first couple times because we'll watch them together, and she's like, "Well, that's how it goes."
Maybe this is just a long-winded way of saying that your daughter's cold-blooded, Emory.
Yeah, dude. But dude, she can't make it through like The Lion King.
I've never watched that.
I mean, but the idea of like a Disney movie that's like, what's crazy about it?
It's not because it's sad or something. It's just she thinks it's cheesy.
No, the way that movies they pull on your heartstrings. She feels a lot of emotion, and but for some reason, when it comes to like the animal kingdom, it's like a separate part of her brain. It's like if it's not real, and it's a cartoon or a movie, she can't do it. But if it's Animal Kingdom, doesn't matter. Isn't that crazy? Like
she can watch sad stuff that's true, but she can't watch sad stuff that's fake.
Dude, I don't know. This is how it is, because my wife and I will be like, oh, I don't know, is she gonna? And she's totally fine with it. But then we put on some silly, kids movie, and she can't handle it. Like Home Alone. We watched Home Alone during Christmas, and she can't take it. she feels bad for the kid in the movie. She feels bad for the bad guys. She covers her eyes and ears, and she.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like your approach to parenting. I mean, I'll never have the uh I'll never experience that by choice. I was born without parental instincts, but
Okay.
I like your idea, your approach of just kind of exposing them to things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some things it wouldn't be, that would be compulsory. Like you're going to help around here. You're going to take out the trash and wash the dishes and
Sure.
that sort of thing. Man, you can't just let them like not have any responsibilities, you know? But in
Yep.
terms of like leisure pursuits, I'd be the same as you. It's a la carte. This is what I do. If
Yep.
you have some interest, we can look into your to doing what you want to do. You want to, join this class, take this class, or join this club, as long as it's reasonable,
Yep.
or uh here's an activity that I'm going to be spending a part of my time doing because I enjoy it. I would love it if you came along, but
Yep.
I wouldn't make them, because I think that what it is at the end of the day is that these young folks, they leave the womb essentially fully formed, like 80% formed. Who they're going to be is predetermined,
Yeah. Right. Yep.
like 80%. And you're just fiddle farting around with the other 20%.
Yeah, and so the approach my wife and I have is I heard a good way to put it. Like parents should be shepherds. They shepherd their kids through life, get them ready, and get to know the kid, their personality, allow, push them. Don't go too much. Like we lead but we try to lead by example. Like I have my own interests that's me, but they're them. And if she has a passion, like she has an absolute passion for dinosaurs. When she was 5, I booked a one way or two quick ticket over to Salt Lake City, Utah. Went to a museum with a bunch of dinosaurs, and it blew her mind. And then it was
Oh,
like boom, it was like amazing. And so we do when we know that they're into it, like cool, this is the next step, and just see where it settles. We don't push them, but you have to push them in some. You have there. It's a delicate balance. You have to push your kids in some areas, and allow them to lead in others, but allow them to form their own personality and be smart enough to know, like, is this me projecting on them, or are we allowing them to develop their own roots, and passions in life? And it's our job to, like, we can't expose them to everything, but they have their whole life to learn about all kinds of stuff. But here's what we can control, and we can expose them to this and that and the other, and you can't do it all, but yeah, parenting's weird. We're just trying to lead by example and do the right thing, I guess.
so at
Like
least you're
loving
thinking
kids.
about it,
Oh, I think about it
and
every
not
night
just
as
doing
I
it.
go to bed.
Um,
Dude, it haunts me every night when I go to bed. I'm like, am I doing this right? Is there like a grading system?
well, yeah, I mean, I applaud you. We need smart parents because there's like a negative correlation between people's IQs and how many kids they have. And that's a real problem
Well, yeah,
because
yeah,
intelligence is heritable, for one thing. And then if you're not smart and you have kids, in addition to them being genetically predisposed to be less intelligent, they're also being exposed to um and as I say that, I sound like a eugenicist, but I don't mean to at all. Um,
I
it's
hear
just
you.
the way of
Yeah,
it. I mean, you
yeah.
can't argue with it. Intelligence is heritable to, I don't know what the heritability index is on it, but there's
Well,
a
yeah, they.
genetic component to it. Plus, if you're dumb and you have kids, what they're exposed to is going to be dumb person stuff. And that ain't good.
Yeah, and you just need to. I just wish we could expose our kids to the most brilliant people we can. Like at schools and things like that. We need good people with smart brains and like Yeah, because you never know what the home environment is, and when you have a lot of kids and life can be tough unless you're like, happen to have a bunch of money in your pocket, but you're going to be struggling. But I mean, everyone grows up. You hear about that stuff all the time. Like, a kid that was the sixth kid in the family and they had no money, like becomes crazy successful.
Oh yeah, yeah. All
It's
of
a
this
thing.
stuff is
So
statistical. It's
yeah,
not like deterministic. It's
right.
just
Yeah,
that if
yeah,
you subject a kid to uh excellent parenting, they're statistically more likely to be
right. Yeah,
successful and helpful to others and stuff
right.
like that. Why,
Yeah,
to me, those are part and parcel the same thing. Being successful and helpful to others are like
right.
largely. I mean,
Yeah,
there's the Venn diagram overlaps to a large extent with
totally.
those two things.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, do you know there like I think there's I think you can see this in Plato, maybe in Aristotle, definitely in the founding fathers, that they thought that education was a precondition for having a democracy.
Yeah,
That you
that's
could
fair.
not, it would be very difficult to have a democratic system of government where the people determine the laws through their political representatives. But even I mean, I would imagine that somebody like John Adams would think if you wanted to have a direct democracy, that the polis would even have to be more educated, than
Right.
with an indirect democracy.
Oh, I wonder if that line splits. Like, if a population gets less intelligent, the risk of like total control goes way up.
Oh, 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 like, well, I would imagine so, but
Yeah.
like historical precedents there, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
Weimar Germany, like in Germany, were people dumb leading up to Hitler? Probably not, I think German society is pretty well educated. I guess like there is just that there was a lot of desperation, you know,
Yeah.
after the after after the as a consequence of the Great Depression,
Mhm.
but still I bet I mean I bet that I I bet that again, hedibus paribus, an uneducated polis is more inclined to end up with a strong man leader, like a fascist,
Mhm.
or on the opposite end of the spectrum from fascism, Joseph Stalin, you know, than a more educated polis would be my guess.
Well, dude, I mean, there are multiple examples of incarcerated individuals that can't read when they go to jail, and they're in jail for a long time, and they learn to read. They learn the law, and they like realize that they've been wrongly accused, and they because they've educated themselves and they've studied.
They
They
didn't know they were wrong. How could you not know you're wrongly accused just because you can't read?
Well, they know that they're wrongly accused, but they can't do anything about
Oh,
it,
they
right?
can't articulate it. They don't know their rights. They don't know how to fight
Yeah,
it.
and
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a thing that has occurred. I wouldn't say it's like all the time, but like it has occurred. People go to jail and they like educate themselves, and they realize like, oh, like there's one story of this gentleman that went to jail and like they did his trial wrong, and totally fabricated stuff. He starts going through it and like basically gets himself out of jail because they wrongly accused him and he didn't do it, right? But
Mm,
he had no ability to understand what's going on around him because he's essentially illiterate.
right.
That's
Do you
crazy.
think he was innocent? You can imagine this happening in one or two ways. He could be guilty, but realize that
Yeah.
his trial
Yeah.
is illegitimate on
Right.
procedural grounds.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert on the
Yeah.
case, but like, touche on your point. Like, but either way, that's pretty impressive, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kudos to you. Like, if you were to overturn your own guilty verdict and you still are guilty, like, I don't know. There's probably a lot worse things that could happen in the world. Like, now you have an illiterate. Yeah, that's crazy.
Uh, I don't. In the recesses of my mind, I remember learning somewhere that there's not a strong relationship between how smart someone is and how virtuous they are.
Oh yeah, there's no relationship there. No.
However, still, I do think that democracies probably work better. Again, going back to Plato and Aristotle and the founding fathers, I know that the founding fathers believe this, and I think that they believed it in part because like classical philosophers thought it as well, that for democracies to succeed, the the population had to be educated. John Adams believed this so vehemently that he had it enshrined in the Massachusetts Constitution. He had education enshrined in the Constitution because he just thought that education was a prerequisite to democracy.
Yeah, I mean, which is basically freedom, right? Like the idea of like self-determination and being in control of your future.
Well,
Through democracy.
yeah, I think so. But I think the threat they saw is that if you're a dummy, then you're too easily manipulated into voting against your own self-interest.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. Oh, that's really fascinating. Okay.
Yeah. So you had to be educated enough to see what's in the best interests of your neighbors and yourselves.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, fascinating. I never thought about it that way. That's really good.
And I think that's I do wonder, I mean, with the erosion of academic standards in this country, if that's a contributing factor of what I see as some of the biggest issues facing society today, is that there's just not the academic rigor. And I'm not talking about going to college even. I'm talking about in primary school, that maybe, I mean, that people aren't learning to think. They're not developing their critical thinking skills.
Right. Intelligence goes beyond just the times tables.
Oh, and that's why, and I'm not even talking about when I think of intelligence, I'm thinking about like native ability, like as measured through an IQ test. But I think what I'm talking about here is being educated.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, allows you to best capitalize on your native intelligence level, whatever that might be.
Right.
But,
yeah. Well, unlocks it for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, now we live in a world where people that are clearly sophists, like are clearly saying insane shit, can have a huge platform and wield all kinds of power. I'm thinking of people like, I don't know, Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, people like that. There's people on the left too. Those are the most striking examples right now, but there are people on the left saying crazy shit too. Do you know like some of the things that Candace has been spouting the last year or so? Some of the most outlandish things?
Yeah, I've heard some of the stuff, but she's pretty out there. But I mean, these people know it's a two-part story, right? They know what's gonna go viral. They know how to go viral, and there's no consequences, right? I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. Uh, when people had a risk of getting punched in the face and rather than sued, things were probably a lot easier. Like there was less turbulence, right? But now,
When was that?
I mean, like I would imagine, I mean, probably decades.
Like the caveman era?
Yeah, I mean, when like
Oh, when
you could just
libel suits were less prevalent?
for sure, yeah, like
Okay.
just I think that uh, you know, I the risk of physical violence certainly makes you think twice about what you're going to say, right? Or thinks about sorry, maybe not what you're going to say, but how you're going to say it.
I would imagine that some of these whack job podcast influencer types would probably have a different filter on when they're not behind a microphone.
Right, that's the other problem. Okay, so
Well, that goes
that's
to your
another
punched in the face thing, you know?
right. These people are they're having dual personalities. Is one's online. That's my online personality, and this is my real life personality, and it's kind of sick. They've somehow segmented what is real life and what is like just online, and I don't think that they understand that. Like it's really disturbing if you can have like a split personality, one's online and one's in person. I mean, you see this in it's there's a lot of cases of it, like that was one of my biggest fears when I started podcasting and like putting my name out there is I'm like, I have to be, my worst fear would be that someone meets me in person and says, oh, that guy's not anything like what he presents online or when he presents on a podcast or a video or whatever it might be. Like that would be so devastating to me. My goal is to be the same person online as I am in person because it takes a lot of focus and like because there's a lot of pressures different places, but yeah, that's my
It might be that you have to be a little bit disingenuous when you're behind the microphone to garner an audience. I know, like
yeah,
the only
for sure,
famous
yeah, that's
person
probably
that
why I'm
I
not.
know, the only famous person that I know intimately is my brother. And I can tell you, he is a different person when there's a camera pointed at him or a microphone in his face
Yeah,
than when he's not. Then there's not.
yeah, that's tough.
I, like you, am the same person
Hmm.
24/7. I will
Yeah,
say the same things when there's a when there's a when I'm being recorded as when I'm not. There was probably there's nothing substantive that would change.
right, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? There's some
yeah,
jokes I would say to my friends because there's no risk that they're going to construe me as being serious when I'm joking that I
right,
wouldn't say into the microphone.
yeah,
But like you, I am absolutely confident that I am fundamentally the same person. Now, maybe if I had a big audience, I wouldn't be. But like the reason I brought all this up in the first place, I'm not the sorts of things that these big time podcaster influencers, crazy shit that they say.
hmm
Um, I don't really, that's not interesting to me. What's interesting to me is that they can say this stuff and still have huge numbers of people take them extremely seriously. And like I should just give a couple
right,
I should just give you a few examples of what I'm talking about. Not you, maybe
right,
because you're probably aware, but people that maybe aren't.
mhm,
Like And this gets back to the democracy thing and the need to be educated to have a democracy. Like Candace, her big rant for one of her big rants for the last year is that Emmanuel Macron's wife has a dick, right? And there's no like there's no systematic observations that lead anybody to believe that's the case. Right. She also has been like championing this idea that somehow Charlie Kirk's wife was complicit in his murder, which is got to be very hurtful to her, I would think. And that when Charlie Kirk walked into a room, something happened, like the laws of nature were suspended momentarily and the lights would flicker. Oh yeah, this is a big part of her thing these days. And or Tucker, who claims that a year and a half ago or something like that, he was attacked by a demon in the middle of the night. And he woke up with claw marks in his side. And like, these people have huge audiences. And this guy, this will get around to hunting a little bit here in a second. If I just finish this out, and I'd love to get your take on all this. It's kind of a theory of mine. But I think that the reason that these, or like Nick Fuentes, who thinks that, like Hitler had Riz or like Stalin was the man or whatever. I don't see how you can think both of those things. I don't see how you could think either of them, but I definitely don't see how you could think both. But that these people have I don't care what these people are saying. That's not of interest to me, but that they have these huge followings is deeply concerning to me. And I think that I'm open to the idea that the reason that such large swaths of the American people find these influencer type people compelling is due to a lack of critical thinking ability.
Yeah, I think that's most certainly an aspect of it. I think people are hungry. I think there's a wide swath of people out there that are isolated from reality, that live online, that are not part of an intricate community, and they have a hunger for something, and they're misdirecting it towards these people with large audiences. Like, people will always look for some kind of a god, right? A higher power with like knowledge that they don't have. And whether they make that a Hindu god or a Christian god or a Muslim god, or they make a Tucker Carlson, like a celebrity, their god, they are attracted to power and ideas that are not theirs, that sound magical, and it's very influential. And if you're not a critical thinker, if you don't spend time thinking critically, if you're never taught to, dude, you're going to start following. That's how cults happen. Like that's how you find out. Like you wake up and you're in a cult and you're like, wait, how did I get here? Because I didn't, like, you just get absorbed by like-minded people. I personally am not susceptible to that. And anytime when I was growing up, anytime I don't know why this is, but I was friends with a lot of different groups of people. And anytime that I found myself getting sucked into one group, or one group wanted me to be more in their vein and spend more time with them, I was like, I think I'm not going to do that. And they would be upset about that. And this has followed me through my entire life. Like, I'm many things, and I try to stay neutral and think critically about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I probably overthink a bunch of stuff, but I'm also not susceptible to too much groupthink. And yeah, I mean, that's like both beneficial and detrimental because it prevents me from going all in full throttle on things, if that makes sense.
Well, I could see where I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes. Like you have multiple groups of friends. They maybe don't know each other very well, so that when you're spending time with one group of friends, it's not spending time with this other group because these
Right.
two groups don't interact much. And when you find that you're spending in an inordinate amount or disproportionate amount with one group than another, you start to retract from that group and focus more on a different one. Like, I'm just trying to understand when this when this when you retract like that,
Mhm.
what what's going on in your head?
Uh, I'm it's a peer pressure thing. You can't peer pressure me. Like it's just not going to happen. I can't like I'm so I know who I am so well that I know what aligns with me and what doesn't. And if whether you call that like a guilty conscience or like understanding what I'm about, like I just know what is Emory and I know and I can identify like wow, like when I dipped my toes into like I started getting to know like prominent hunters and brands and things like that. Got invited on some stuff, and I saw that world, and I thought that that's like I was like I always had this dream, you know, like hunting big, you know, these big hunts and things like that. It was all very romantic, right? It's like, oh, that's what dreams are made of. And I always held hunting on this like pedestal of like this crazy adventure. And then I was like, cool. I started meeting the people, formed some friendships, got invited on some stuff, and it wasn't bad at all whatsoever. It wasn't a bad experience, but I saw like what it would require to live that life, and I was like, "Oh, that's not me." Like, and what's crazy about that is hunting now, I have now like recalibrated myself on what my relationship to hunting, my
Well, it
relationship
doesn't sound
and
like
other
you
things,
like
right?
it doesn't sound like anytime you find yourself spending yourself with one spend spending a disproportionate amount of time with one group than another, you automatically like start to
No,
automatically.
not at all.
It sounds like when you're hanging out with a group of people a bunch and you start to see problems with that group.
Yeah. That's when yeah.
Yeah.
It's very easily identified for me. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." Like, or like, what's required of me to, like, pull from other parts of my personality or my lifestyle. Um, I'm like, "Oh." And then, like, this kind of, like, rethink on my relationship to hunting, I was like, "Oh," like, I kinda had this realization, I was like, "I think I'm okay being, like, a bad hunter." Like, in terms
All
of,
right.
you know, like
Let's get into that because you and I have
okay.
talked previously, and you laid it
Yeah.
out for me. But
Yeah.
we gotta be courteous about my mom and anybody else that might be listening,
Okay.
like because they weren't there for our
Yeah.
earlier discussion. You know, so okay. There's a couple things I want to ask about. I guess you had an orientation to
Mhm.
hunting, and it changed.
Yep.
That's of interest to me.
Yep.
And then, in as much as you're willing to lay it out for us, you had some interactions or relationships with people in the hunting entertainment and hunting industry, and that left you with a feeling.
Yep.
You had some
Yep.
takeaways from that. So with those two threads,
Yep.
would you mind going tell me what's going on there?
Yeah, so my hunting background I'm not like the world's greatest hunter, but,
There's
as a
only
kid
one of them.
Yeah, right, right, I'm not it, right?
I
I don't
think
even know.
I think the guy lives right here in Miles City, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth, but
yeah,
and you'll never I'll tell you
no,
who he
never
is,
know
but
who the yeah,
but nobody else will ever know.
right.
That's
So,
part of what makes him the best hunter.
bingo, right? You don't talk about it. S I just always growing up, I had this, like, fascination with hunting, and my dad wasn't a big game hunter, he was, like, a bird hunter from the Midwest, and we lived in the Pacific Northwest, we hunted blacktail, and, like, those are terrible to hunt, but we went, and my
'Cause it's
dad took
rainy and thick?
yeah, and they're, like, nocturnal for the most part, like,
Really?
it's oh, yeah, yeah, unless they're, rutting, for the most part, like, they move a lot at night, and
Not on Prince of Wales Island where I
well
go in the summer. They'll
right,
be out
exactly,
in
like,
front of
depending on where you're at, yeah,
yeah.
but
Is it 'cause
around
of
here,
hunting pressure?
I think it's I mean, from what I understand, that's kind of the nature of, like, their habit they I do know that, there's blacktails a lot of different areas, but at least in this area where I'm at in the Cascades, like, they just like the thick stuff, like, the idea that you see on TV of, like, glassing a canyon and, like, the spot and stock, it's like, dude, unless you're hunting a clear cut, you're not spotting anything. Like it's very much like still hunting and like ambush hunting, and those are very difficult to do. Now, most people that spot and stock blacktails, they're doing it, in a clear cut, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like it's a different type. I just always liked to have I liked to be active, and so wasn't super successful, but hunting became like a core value of mine. Like I always looked forward to it during the falls, and then when I came home, I left for the military. When I came back, I got back into hunting, but I wanted to. Um, I had this experience. I was hunting in a clear cut area, like a Weyerhaeuser type land. That's where most people hunted, and
For now, it sounds like more and more
well,
they're
not
starting to lease it all out.
yeah, no, you can't get in there anymore. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that's so sad.
But I had found this patch of timber
Wait, what state
inside
are you in?
Washington.
Okay,
You can hunt
okay,
it, but
okay.
you have to, like, buy these
Yeah, yeah,
licenses.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
yeah. I couldn't remember if you were in Washington or
yeah,
Oregon.
Washington. Yeah. Anyhow, so I had this moment where, um, I was hunting a clear-cut area, but I found this grove of trees where, like, there was just a ton of deer in them for some reason. Like, year after year, it was like this thicket full of deer. Like, you couldn't see more than 20 yards. But if you walked
Oh, there's a name for that. I call it a hot spot.
dude, it was a hot spot, and I dream about this place all the time, and I shot this amazing, like, up close and personal, like, blacktail. I tracked him through the trees. I was like, when one of those days in the woods where you just nailed it? You're like, "I'm just crushing it right now." Like,
Mhm.
I jumped him, I'm tracking him through this thick brush, and finally, I'm like, "Something's not right." So I move over to the right, and all of a sudden, he comes pushing through the trees, like, he's like 20 yards away from me, and I was like, "Oh, I got him," right? And I had this amazing experience. And then the following year, I had the opposite. I was, like, in this thicket again, and, uh, I just heard people, like, driving in trucks, and I look out, and I could see the road, and there's, like, these kids in the back of this, like, pickup truck on a toolbox with their guns at the ready, and they're just road hunting. And I was like, "Oh, like, that's gross." And I was like, "I need to find somewhere else to go." So I drove up the mountain. I left. I went up to the spot that I'd been to as a kid with my parents and long, long time ago. And it was just kind of like up on the top of everything. And you could see for miles. And that fall, I decided to hunt that area, and I shot a buck it was one of those classic moments, like last day, last hour, like one last day hunt type thing. And it was just really magical for me. And I like hunting was just like, I was like, whoa, like I was all alone. It was my first solo hunt by like, that was a whole journey in itself. And I was just like mesmerized by the
Well,
whole
how
thing.
long ago was this?
It was over a decade ago, I
And that
would
was the
say.
first time you'd ever gone hunting by yourself.
Uh, Successfully. Yeah, I've been leading up to it, and this was a whole personal journey, right? Like being comfortable being out in the woods alone, like doing that whole thing. Like I was in at this time also, I was kind of getting into backpacking. I'd never done any backpacking, so I was doing that stuff as well, but this spot wasn't a backpack hunting area. But I'd gone by myself, and I I found success, and hunting like solidified itself in me. I was like, this is really rewarding. Like on a whole level that's like beyond punching a tag. It was just like internally rewarding. I put in the work, I put in the time, I put myself out there as an individual, like one-on-one, mano y mano, like me against me.
Mano y buck.
Yeah. And like not only that, but the day before I shot that buck, my rifle freezed up on me, and I was sitting on this trail, and this buck comes in, beautiful blacktail. I was like, oh, this is it. And my rifle was like, it was greased up too much or something, and the firing pin wouldn't. No. Dude, it was horrible. And like, it was this beautiful, and he was like big rutted neck, and he was like, I finally shot him, 5 times over with, round after round that wouldn't go off. And I finally just put my rifle down, and I was like, I'm just going to enjoy it. And I forced myself the next morning to go back out there, and I shot a buck in the same spot, different buck, but like,
was he bigger?
No, not at all. No,
just curious.
but like, it was important to me. And so hunting became this like, holy cow, like a personal development thing, along with like, ritual and getting to know everything. So I started going down this path, writing about it, talking to people, podcasting about it. And I started getting to know people. And I was like, dude, hunting's amazing. And I started.
When you say people, you mean like people in hunting entertainers?
Right. Yeah. Like I would say like people from brands, some people that had some channels that were doing stuff. And then I was asked.
You'd have them on your podcast.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. They'd be guests on a podcast. I got to know them, and it like made these friends, and they're still friends today. I have no problem. They're not bad people, but what I started getting a peek into, like, what does it mean to like be a hunting influencer, I guess. Like I saw under the hood a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You saw how the sausage was made.
Yeah. And there was one moment in particular, I went on this hunt, and it didn't really, I did not go well for me. I didn't really like it. It's a whole story that deserves like its own thing. But at the beginning of it, I joined these guys who were making videos. They were making hunting videos. And that's what they wanted to do with their lives, is be hunting influencers or like hunting celebrities. And the length at which they were willing to like neglect their values, I guess, or like, it was just there was a lot of feelings of ick, like, oh, okay, this brand, we need to do this spot for this brand. We gotta wear the hat for the brand. We have to talk about this brand. We got to mention this brand. Let's do this curated video. It felt very insincere, I guess. And
they're spending a hell of a lot of time with doing what stuff that they otherwise wouldn't be doing on a hunting trip.
Right. Like if you and me go hunting, we're not filming videos for a brand, right? Like if there's no one else involved, it's just you and me at a campsite. We wake up, we have breakfast, we go hunting, we have a conversation along the way, and we enjoy each other's company. But now there's this whole other aspect of it. And like they have these $10,000 rifles, and they have all this gear that's been given to them. They didn't buy it. And now they owe the brands time because they have a following, and they have this, and they have to, and that's the relationship, right? Again, like for them, if that's what they want to do, like that's the route they're going down. But for me, I was like, when does it stop? How does it stop? When is enough enough? Like, how do you, like, this train's never going to stop, because you aren't going to get paid unless you hunt, and you're not going to get paid unless your hunt is successful. And now we're talking like, now you have decisions to make, because brands don't want to send you gear or give you money or give you their time if you're not out there showcasing their equipment being successful. No one's going to give their gear to unsuccessful people that are Yeah, they're just not going to do that. Like, it's a bad
No,
business
you got to
practice. Like you
generate
said,
carcasses if you want to have sponsorships
yeah.
for
So that's what put me on this path of like years ago. I was like, this feels like a digital form of market hunting where the product is a dead animal, and that feels weird. Like,
and then, when you're there along on a
yeah,
hunt like that, which I've been as well,
yeah,
it's like, I mean, the thought that I've had when I've had similar experiences is, why am I here helping this guy do his job?
right, yeah, yeah, and also, how is that a job? Like,
I don't think it's a legitimate job, but
but it's
I
it's
don't think it
strange.
should be a thing.
But
But
it's strange because it starts like I mentioned to you the last time we spoke that like I feel like this just is what I've been spending my time thinking about the last number of years is like this big knot of like trying to pull a string and figure out like where it begins, what it means, and like understanding that at the end of the day, these are people. They have families, they want to put food on the table, they want to be happy. And going back to like what we talked about at the beginning was like my wish for my girls is that they spend their life doing something that gives back to them and makes them feel alive and they're passionate about it. Okay. So on one hand, I want these like people to be happy in pursuing in being able to make money doing the thing that they love, right? If they really love it and it gives them like joy and it makes them a better person at the end of the day, I want that for them. But that also feels really weird if it's on the backs of a dead animal.
yeah, there's I can imagine all kinds of other professions that might feel good to you but are harmful to society,
Right.
like
Yeah.
being the Marlboro man.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, oh, I've always wanted to be on camera smoking cigs,
Mhm.
or have pictures in magazines smoking cigs. Well, it's just not helpful.
Right.
And it's the same with being a hunting entertainer.
Mhm.
You may always, first of all, it's okay. Let's say the mindset is, I just want to hunt. I love hunting. So I'm going to turn it into a career. Well, now you're doing something that's not hunting anymore. Because hunting with a
Right.
camera ain't hunting.
Yeah, if there's a drone shot in your hunting video, if you're flying a drone at any point during your hunt, I'm not sure that that's a hunt.
Well, if you got a guy walking around behind you, even, and he's
Yeah.
like, could you do that again? I missed it. Could you
Right.
walk up that hill again?
Right.
And then inevitably, they end up having to lie
Right. And right. And the
because
problem is
a
I'm an
big
idealist.
part of hunting is bad shots and wound
Yes.
loss,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
and they hide that.
Yeah.
So you end up lying to people. It's just not meant to be a job, you know?
Yeah. I that's kind of what I've come down to is like this seems like a profession that shouldn't be a profession because you ultimately compromise yourself in one way or another. Like you can't be a why going back to like your Candace Owens, not that they're in the same ballpark or anything, but like you have to do crazy shit to keep the thing going. Like and so I've kind of I met some of these people, knew them when like and I've seen their trajectory and I've just seen like this obsession with it's never good enough. It has to be bigger. It has to
Well,
be
because
more
we're
daunting.
competing against 1,000 other people that are trying to do the same damn
Right.
thing.
Right. And look what they did to like, uh, there was a trend. I just sit back and watch these trends. Like mule deer used to be the shit. Mule deer and elk hunting. That was it. And then now all of a sudden there's this like focus on Alaska.
Oh,
Like, oh,
really?
let's push up to let's do a float trip in Alaska. Now everyone's going to Alaska. And it's like when all the videos have been shot about mule deer and all the video like it's
Well, mule deer
everything's
aren't doing very good, so they're probably having trouble getting tags.
yeah, so they go and they have to replicate. And I was like, guys, like, what are we doing here? Like, you're you're. But the other part of it is, I enjoy filmmaking and story, right? So I'm susceptible to a good storyline, and there's some hunting films out there that have like really wonderful storylines, but I'm not sure everything needs to be filmed. There's not a story in everything. And another condition that we're in, a situation, is you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Like, people are going to make videos. They're going to make videos. They're going to make hunting videos. You can't stop them from doing it, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it.
No, nor would I want to, in terms of like, would I want to outlaw it?
Right. Yeah.
I just don't think it's good for hunting. So
Right.
I'm just
So,
inviting people to
yeah.
stop looking at it.
Right. So that's the thing. Like, okay, if there's people going to make hunting videos, what are they making the videos about and how are they making them? How are they portraying hunting? Okay. So that's a known factor. I think those that don't agree with how hunting is portrayed online by people need to take seriously, like, who are they supporting, and like, who are they buying their gear from? Are those brands supporting channels that you don't agree with? Because money talks at the end of the day. I think that's the head of the snake, is where's the money coming from and where's it going to, and who are we holding people accountable? Be like, because you want to get, hunting is such a, if we lose hunting, there's a proposition. There's like this silly thing going on in Oregon right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that would
It's a
ban
petition to make
hunting and ban like
hunting and fishing and like,
well, and also like livestock husbandry.
right. So it's like a petition to, from what I understand, it's a petition to categorize hunting, fishing, and all this kind of stuff as animal cruelty. And like, I've thought about like, what happens if we lose hunting? And I think it's catastrophic, because hunting is the last and final connection to like, for lack of a better term, like the circle of life, how it works, right? Like, when you take the life of an animal, that should be heavy. That should be a very sincere thing. And you should think twice about it. And if you have a bad shot, you should feel bad about it and you should learn from it. But like, hunting's this like amazing self-development, like reconnection with nature, like learn about yourself, connection with other people. It's this beautiful thing. And imagine a landscape where you don't get to do that anymore.
Well, for 96% of Americans, that's the case.
Right.
And in other countries, it's higher than that.
Yeah. And it's like,
there's there's many countries where it's virtually 100%. So I don't know. I'd need some convincing that it would be all that deleterious.
You think so?
Well,
so,
okay. I'm
so
just asking you to explain to me why it would be so catastrophic, because I mean, whereas it would be catastrophic for me personally.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many me's out there or you's out there. You know, in this country, 96% of us wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, maybe
unless we work for an insurance company, and now there are a lot more people hitting deer or whatever. You know, I'd be way more worried existentially, like in terms of threats to society. I guess I'd be much more concerned about antibiotic resistance than I would be hunting getting outlawed, in terms of negative effects on society. You know,
catastrophic's probably I think what you're hitting on is like, it's catastrophic to me and the values that I hold dear, I guess, because whether I hunt or whether I choose to hunt or I don't choose to hunt, the idea that I can make that choice and have the opportunity to, like I've hiked a couple thousand miles up the PCT on a trail, and I've experienced the joy.
The Pacific. Lay it out. I'm sorry. Just for people to.
So years ago, I hiked from Mexico to Canada along the Pacific Crest Trail. Took me 5 months, and it was amazing. It was one of the greatest experiences of my entire life.
How many miles is that?
The trail's 2,600. Like over 2,000 miles. But I had to go around some sections, but yeah, you're looking at over 2,000 miles in a single season. So in 5 months, and it changes you. But I had a wonderful experience. Like, I would recommend it to everybody because it's so amazing, the people that you meet. But I still want hunting. I still want the experience of hunting because they offer two different, an overnighter with friends and family is different than a big mile day on the trail, and it's different than 2,000 miles up the Pacific Crest Trail for an entire summer of my life. And it's different than a hunt, and it's different than a backcountry hunt. Like, all these things, like, to know that you have the ability to do these things is to know that one of those things would be taken away. It's like when you enter the woods with a mindset of a hunter, it feels different than when you enter the woods as a thru hiker hiking 2,000 miles. Like, the mindset, the access to that mindset is totally different. And I think it's beneficial for the person that does it. Now, yeah, I mean, if 96% of people don't hunt, I think they're missing out on something. And I don't want 96 people to, like, 96% people to hit the hills and start killing everything. That would be catastrophic. But I think there's a lot of good that can come from hunting, and those that choose to do it and are able to do it, the benefit that they get from it, I think, benefits the 96%. It's like pays it forward. You know what I mean? Like, they're calm, they're collected. Like, you have to learn to be calm. You have to learn to be collected. You have to learn to be present. And those things, those lessons that we learn hunting, that we learn through hiking, that we learn camping, translate to our day-to-day life. That's why, I mean, like, it's catastrophic for the population as a whole, because if the 4% of the population that can't do that anymore, they're not influencing the 96%. In some way, shape, or form. And I think it passes down generation to generation. And we're missing, like, can you imagine if, like, hunting goes outlawed in a crazy scenario? You can't kill an animal in the wild anymore. Like, how are you supposed to understand how, unless you're a biologist, like, and you choose to go down that route, like, how are you supposed to understand the patterns of an animal and why they do that thing and why this habitat's so important and what a habitat means to an animal? Like, why do blacktails enjoy the thickets? Why do elk enjoy slopes? And like why do they sun themselves on one side? Like, my little girl, 7 years old, I took her backpacking overnight into this spot where I knew there's tons of elk, and there's this meadow and there's elk trails. Wasn't on her radar. Was not on her radar at all whatsoever that there's elk in these woods outside this little 12-inch path, right? I say, that's an elk trail. Do you want to walk down it? No, I don't want to walk down that trail. It's scary, right? And I'm like, our campsite's on the other side of this. Follow me. Just follow me down this path. And I go, this is what I do hunting. I find these trails, I find out where they go, and I find animals, and I get to know the area. And she's like, okay. She follows me, goes over some logs. We come to this little meadow. Elk beds, gigantic piles of shit, like cow pie size, right? And I was like, holy cow, look at this. There's elk that slept here right behind our campsite. Dude, head explodes. She's in it now. She's smearing she's in the textures. She's looking at the way the grass lays down. She's in the context I'm giving her is like, Lenny, this is hunting. Like, this is what I do hunting. When this is where they're living. I'm understanding where they're at. And you know all this stuff, right? But, like, you're teaching this to a 7-year-old, and her mind is going crazy. And now she's understanding the pattern of an animal. And, like, oh, this was a small bed. Maybe that was a baby. Maybe this is a big guy, right? And she's playing it out. And it was that fall that she asked to join me on a hunt.
Yeah, I think that's all very positive.
So
but I also think that there's a lot of nature enthusiasts that
totally, yeah,
that don't hunt, you know?
Right. So I had a guy on my podcast that he wrote this article about, I think it was like why hunting isn't conservation or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I had him on, and he had this, like, perspective. He had no problem hunting. He'd been a hunter in the past, but he was kind of like, he realized that there's some bad stuff that comes along with it. And one of the bad things that he mentioned was, like, the seat at the table doesn't include birders or people that want to just photograph wildlife. His opinion years ago was was that hunters are the only ones deciding. They're the only ones at the seat at the table, like what happens with these animals. Whereas like he knew other groups of people that had wanted a say in it, but couldn't get a seat at the table because they weren't hunting.
I'm sympathetic to this guy. Well, first of all, only about 5%. There's been one study on this, and according to that study, about 5% of wildlife funding comes from hunters.
Right.
And then secondly, like this idea that hunting is conservation. Yeah. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Exactly. You mean you're like John Muir because you went and got your duck stamp and sat in a blind?
Right. It's a tagline that is due to be removed, and for all the reasons, like you've posted a lot about this, like where the money goes, who gets paid what. Like you start looking under the hood and you're like, is it conservation? Like, what are we funding here? And just because you buy, to your point, just because you buy a tag doesn't make you like John Muir, right? And to this guy's point, like he said that, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, we should have a diverse group of people at the table deciding what happens with these animals. So what the heck are we doing? Are we just stuck monetizing the death of animals? Or what are we doing here? Like, why only hunters are deciding this stuff, if that's true? Because there's a lot of other people that.
Where I get a little confused with this take is I don't see where it is only hunters.
Yeah, I mean, this was a number of years ago, and he was things may have changed, but his like the concept was that it was very difficult for these like councils and like in government and things like that to like get non-hunting perspectives in the gate for like what happens with tag mounts and like introduction of wolves and things like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd say that the people that got wolves introduced in Colorado, I mean, maybe this was a different time. Like they weren't hunters.
Yeah.
So there's a group of non-hunters having an awfully big effect.
Yeah.
When bald eagles were listed, I don't think that was at the behest of the hunting community.
Right. Yeah.
So I get a little bit, it'd be interesting to hear him. Who was this?
Kevin Bixby, is that his name? I'll get his name too, because I've wanted to reach back out to him and be like, I feel like we're due for another like tag up to kind of get his thoughts on it. He wrote. Do you
still podcast?
Yeah, I took a little bit of a hiatus to kind of recalibrate myself, but yeah, I'm going to start kick off again here soon. And
what's the name of your podcast so people can find you?
Byland Podcast.
Byland. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like you're in your email address. Okay.
Yeah. And the
BYLAND.
Yep.
Not BUI.
Right.
Which
yeah, not Byland. Yeah. We're not Byland. No, it's harkens back to Lewis and Clark. I'm a big Lewis and Clark nerd.
Okay.
Yeah. I found it in
what okay, so explain that to me.
The Byland stuff or the Lewis and Clark stuff? Because
how does Byland, the phrase BYLAND, what relate to Lewis and Clark?
So I went deep on Lewis and Clark. I just was always fascinated with him, and I started reading more and more stuff, and I was reading their journals and like raw journals. And so the first portion of the journey, of course, is up the Missouri, right? They're like by water, pulling stuff up the river. But there's these, at some point they have to not use waterways. And so at the end of Clark's entries, he would kind of do these summaries he was kind of like the actions of the day guy versus like Lewis was more of like a botanist. Type of entry.
Okay. So Clark is like today, blah, blah, blah. Like just a running, like this is what happened.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So Lewis was trained in botany before he went and all that kind of stuff. Like here's how to document all the plants and the animals and the things.
Okay.
Right? You need to collect the stuff, send it back to home. Clark was like the dude that's going to get it done that day, run the crew. He's going to do the observations of the stars, all that kind of stuff, and mileage. He was dead nuts on the mileage. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. That they knew exactly how many miles they had gone to in like just a small air number. Like they within just a very precisely. Yeah.
So in that context, he at the end of his entries, he would say like, when they would do an anomalous journey across land, like they had to port something or they started doing the mountains, there was entries where he'd be like, um, came 35 miles today by land. And I read it the first time and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, for some reason, it just like landed with me. And I was like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're like exploring this whole situation, whether, and it's like this, the land, like by your feet, unless you're on water. But like the concept is we have this shared experience. You and I can connect over this topic because we've spent time together crossing land and like getting to know the landscape. And it's by the land that we're able to like understand what it is that's out there in our own personal journeys. So it was kind of this connective tissue for me when I read the words. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing out here. I'm going on an adventure and I'm using the landscape to have that adventure and learn about myself, learn about other people and build connections with people. And so it was kind of like an ode to Lewis and
Okay.
Clark and like this idea of connection
I get it. That makes
to
sense.
nature. Yeah. Cause it was this big journey, right? And it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
Is it hard to read the primary sources? I know they were written before there were dictionaries, so that the
oh, the
spelling
spellings are
is.
all over the place, but it's fun. It's fun because you see their personalities come out and you see their words, their language, and you can. I got to the point where I was like, oh, he's telling a joke. Like
Oh,
that's a joke. Like it's
okay.
really dry, right? But
Hmm.
you can tell it's like there's this scene. I wish someone would make like a proper like there could be a whole comic book about it. There's this scene where like they have a problem with bears, like they meet grizzly bears for the first time, right? And like they thought they were just black they because their reference point was black bears.
They thought it
And
was a souped up black bear.
dude, and they were like the grizzly bear stories in their raw journals are freaking hilarious. Dudes are jumping off, getting chased, jumping off riverbanks into the water. One dude clocks a grizzly bear over his head with the butt of his rifle and then climbs a tree. Like he's in the kill zone of a grizzly bear on its back legs, and they just like they were in a thicket together, and he turns around. He's like, "Oh shit!" and takes the butt of his rifle. The bear rears up, and he just like self defense, like clocks him over the head, and then scurries up this tree. And the bear trees him for like hours on end until he leaves, and like stuns the bear enough to like, whoa, what? Shakes it off, and in that meantime, climbs this tree, spends hours in the tree until the bear wanders off. But then there's the joke stuff. Like there's this portion up towards the beginning of the Missouri. There was like an island in the river that was like full of bears, and they talk about like storming the castle and like going in and like rooting out the bears and going and killing these bears because they needed them for meat. But they were
There
like
wasn't anything else around they could eat. Where
there
was
were
this?
I can't remember where it was at exactly. It's like they called it like the Bear Fortress or something like that, something silly. But like you can tell they were like these bears were like causing a problem with their camps,
Mm.
and so like we got to go kill these bears because they're causing a problem. And they would eat the meat, of course, but like there's a ton of stretches where all they were doing is eating bear meat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tons of stretches because their game was scarce. But yeah, that dude, if I could go, I would get like if I could get a degree in like Lewis and Clark, I'd study that thing the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a fascinating journey, and the lesser known or unknown stories within the journey. It's like it's almost better the deeper you go
Mm.
because you get to know.
Yeah, all I know is a few like
It's pretty.
popular books and like Undaunted Courage, stuff
Yep.
like that. And
Yep. That was
and the Ken Burns dodocumentary.
yeah.
That's all I know. I just know the mainstream stuff.
Yeah, and there's all these secondary storylines that are in there as well, and the like. I never made the connection that it was a Lewis and Clark journey that created the Mountain Men, that created the Oregon Trail.
Oh,
I
yeah,
never
yeah.
made that connection
Okay.
before. Yeah, yeah. So that was
You
kind
know
of where
their
the thought
favorite
was.
fish on their favorite fish they ate on the journey?
No.
The moon eye.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know that fish?
Oh no, is this a joke?
No. No. Was I smirking?
Well,
No,
I
it's
was
not.
walking
It's
myself.
just as funny. It's funny to me because
Um,
I live in the land of the moon eye.
okay.
They're, I think they're in the herring family. I'm pretty sure,
Okay.
but they're a rough fish, or
Okay.
gold eye is another name for them, moon eye. And yeah, people don't eat them. I've eaten them. I've smoked them,
Well, I mean, these guys were eating dogs.
but that was their favorite fish.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's catfish here. There's sauger.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think because some stuff's non-native. I'm just talking about right in my zone
Yeah.
on the Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Now there's smallmouth and there's some pike and there's walleye, but and then there's ling, burbot,
Yeah.
freshwater burbot. But it just always has been funny to me that the moon eye, this fish that's universally poo-pooed around here and considered a nuisance, because some days you can't keep them off, and that was their favorite.
That's hilarious. I wonder why. Maybe it was different back then.
Maybe,
I mean, I guess they
maybe,
could get
maybe that was their favorite because it was like the easiest to catch.
dude.
I
Man,
prefer that fish because, so they were not thinking of it culinarily. They were just
no.
thinking, this is my favorite fish because it's easy to catch.
They're like, this is
yeah.
my favorite. Yeah, exactly. Because this thing always bites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the only way I figured out that I can eat them, enjoy them, is to smoke them. And then when you do that, it's kind of interesting. There's two kinds of meat. There's above the ribs, which is like a fish paste. You have to flake it off very carefully, or you end up with a bunch of bones.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a pretty good fish dip. And then the rib cage and like the meat over the ribs and in the tail is much more firm.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
kind of like a fish jerky. But
Oh, interesting.
I've tried to eat them, just like frying them, but it's just hard to do without ending up with a bunch of bones.
I would imagine when you're expending thousands of calories a day and you don't have it to expend, and these dudes would travel 30 miles in a single day. Like,
34 miles across land carrying all their stuff. That was probably with horses, though.
Dude, no. Lewis himself.
Well, a lot of it was with horses, right?
Not until they got to like the Bitterroots. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Well, so they carried all their stuff, but like Lewis would get out and he would hike the river with his dog, right? And he'd cross the land. This dude could do like 30 miles with dysentery.
Oh.
It's crazy. These guys in the middle of the winter, they went downriver like 30 miles in a day to like save some like Native American kid. Like, it's crazy.
What?
Like,
Lay that out for me.
They had some sort of problem. There was maybe it was like
they're heading upriver and they had to backtrack to save somebody.
It's the winter at the Mandan village.
Okay, so early in the trip.
Yeah, early in the trip, and there's two stories. One, there's like a kid that gets lost in the snow, and like he's out there, right? And he either survives and they find him or whatever. But there was another scenario. It might have been. There was some scenario where they had to go. There was like maybe it was another tribe in the area or something like that. But this was like dead of winter in the Dakotas. Not a good scenario. And these dudes are in the snow backtracking to this other spot. They had to go on some sort of mission with these like with the tribe, the local tribe, to like they were either going to save someone or like fend off, like kind of present like a force. I can't remember which one it was, but either way, I just remember in the dead of winter in the Dakotas, they're hoofing it across the plains and they're going like 20, 30 miles in like a day. They're like a cold, like the whole story is just bizarre, like what these dudes were able to do. But again,
pretty fit dudes.
Yeah, I mean, they're hauling like dugout canoes 30 miles. I think it's like 30 miles across like around the falls, right? They're getting battered with like golf ball size hail. beat up, beat to shit, like black eyes, like thorns. I mean, the whole it's a crazy story, and that's their life. Like that's what they do. They're hauling boats up, things are tipping over. I think about that stuff all the time when I'm in the woods. Like I'm
Yeah.
such a weenie, dude.
Yeah, what was their deal? So, like, how did Jefferson hit on them? Were they military men?
Clark, so they were both military. Lewis was a family friend of Jefferson and was actually his, he grew up like kind of down the road a little bit. Their families knew each other, and he was actually Jefferson's secretary.
Okay.
Lewis was.
Okay.
But Lewis and Clark met at some point. They don't really know when or how, but they met. He was older. Clark was a little bit older, and Clark's lineage is like his brother. The reason why he went on the expedition is to like save face for his brother. Was like a Revolutionary War hero.
What?
Yeah, dude. Like,
why do you have to save?
It's like a family problem, money, and like there was like a whole thing. Clark was like a younger brother, and so
like, you're saying he's like, I gotta live up to the standard my older
like,
brother is set. You mean like that?
There was some sort of trouble with his brother thereafter the Revolutionary War, and so he was like kind of my understanding. There was like a reason why he was like, okay, I gotta like kind of get my family name back together again.
Oh, so the older brother discredit or shamed the family and brought shame to the family in some way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could have been like something not shameful to us today, but like
the reason I'm asking these questions is like I was wondering were these guys real physically fit when they started out?
I think that's just how those guys were.
Well, you can't just be that way. I mean, maybe
this is like 1805. Man.
Like you think that they were just, I don't know.
How I think they were
just doing farm work every day, and well, not if he's like a secretary.
Well, so Lewis was. I mean, if you had to like split them out, maybe he was a softer of the two. But I don't know if you can do 30 miles in dysentery. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, like, maybe he started out in shitty shape, and he was just, pardon the pun, with the dysentery. But then he just got in good shape as he went.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're
when you're in your early 30s and you do a bunch of hiking,
the dude
you get pretty fit pretty quick.
This fool has look up like Lewis's birthday note. He turns 30, like on the expedition. Turns 30 on the expedition, and he's like, "I'm not doing enough."
Oh yeah, he says something like, "I'm gonna live heretofore for others, as I've so far lived for myself." Which, like, he's prone
like on the
to
continental divide when he's like writing this, and you're like, Jesus, man, like,
yeah, well, he's prone to melancholy. That's probably, I mean, that's like that anticipates the same
dude. There's a lot
mental of stuff that precipitated his demise. Like he's like a depressed guy.
Well, and there's like a whole thing about that. Like there's was he like some people think he killed himself?
Yeah, think he was I buy the mainstream narrative.
But there was a disease biologist that like looked into his records. He's like, I don't know, this sounds really fishy. And I don't remember what STD it was, but there's an STD that you can get that will cause you to be a little crazy.
Oh, syphilis.
And they'll treat you for it.
Syphilis.
And so they were like,
I thought you were trying to say that somebody killed him, not that he was depressed and killed himself. Because there is that theory too, that he didn't in fact kill himself.
Right.
When I say I buy the mainstream narrative, what I'm saying is I believe he committed suicide. Yeah. And the reason I believe that is because of some of the passages in the journal that seem to be statements made by somebody that was prone to severe fits of melancholy. Now, that established it was syphilis. It's syphilis that can cause all kinds of mental mental problems. And I know that they a lot of the core members struggled with or had that, including York, Clark's slave, and they treated it with mercury.
Yeah. And apparently there's something where like organs can be affected where it's like very painful, and they like there's patients that are trying to like dig out their own, like they try to dig it out, and they're like, oh well, So this doctor's basically like, oh, dude, he might not have been depressed because the line is like he's always depressed and he's got melancholy or whatever. And they're like, yeah, but it could have been like brought on by just syphilis in general.
Right.
And when he shot himself, he's trying to get rid of the pain, and he's just got kind of turns crazy. But also, he owed money to a lot of people, and people were very unhappy with him. So there's like
Oh,
this scenario brewing as he's on his way back to Washington D.C. to try to like save face, and he dies, and they're like, well, maybe he was murdered, maybe he wasn't. But I mean, I think you're probably right, he probably wasn't in the best of like mental and physical shape at that point.
yeah. I don't want to be sound overly confident about it. I don't know for sure,
But the
but you know,
story, the fact that like all that's out there, and like the story, I'm like, this isn't what people know about. Like, it's just like you read all the details and you're like, this is crazy. Like, this is part of the story, his demise, and
mm,
how he got out there, and like they were supposed to go earlier, and then it didn't happen, and then they were even like chase. There was like a foreign party chasing them up the Missouri, but never caught up to them.
what?
Yeah, dude. There was like like some other. It was the French or some other
Some
country had.
voyageurs, as they're
They were like,
called.
yeah, they learned about it, and they were like, they chased him up the Missouri, but
What for?
never
What they
caught him.
wanted? They wanted to.
Well, his old
They wanted
territory
to
bait.
scoop them.
Well, they're trying to prevent them from going across
Going across what?
the continent, like, because
Why?
all that was like open land, and like, it was empire building at that point, right? So like, we don't want anyone knowing what's there, and
Well,
it
but it
was
would
like
no longer belong to the French, right? I mean, at
yeah,
that
but
point, that was after the Louisiana Purchase. Wasn't that
there
the
was
reason for
right.
the?
There was a timing thing. It was like, remember the Louisiana Purchase like changed hands like really quickly. It was
Okay.
during that like turnover that there was like
Oh, so at
Travis.
the time that
Yeah,
these voyageurs tried
yeah.
to intercept them, it was not clear that they had that this purchase had.
It was like a timing thing. Yeah, it was like, hey, Americans are gonna start setting sail up this thing, and they don't own it.
So if these
So
French would have caught up with them, were they going to kill them?
that's I would assume so.
What happened to them?
They've never found him. They moved too fast. Like it never worked out timing.
So at some point they're like, screw it,
I
and they
guess
went
so.
back
Yeah,
home.
yeah. I suppose so. But
Okay.
there's that element to it. It's just bizarre. Like the whole thing is just nuts. Like the luck involved in that whole thing. The only thing I can equate it to is like the moon landing. It's like Lewis and Clark and the moon landing. Those are like the two great American expeditions.
Uh, yeah, and then how few people died? Only one dude died, right? And he
From
had
yeah,
some condition that if he
yeah,
would have stayed home, he would have died anyway.
for sure. Yeah, his appendicitis,
Yeah,
and no one dies. And all the bears and all the rivers and the falls and the like, all the things, all the
yeah.
anomalies. And then they come back and everyone thinks they're dead. And they're like, what? No.
I'd
They're
say
like,
it's
oh,
equally miraculous every time I spend a week in the wilderness and come out alive because I'm such a space cadet
yeah.
and I'm so like uncareful.
Oh, really?
Like so
Interesting.
yeah, I'm not like I don't it's not like I have a devil may care attitude that
Laissez faire, maybe? Or like,
I just am a space cadet.
oh, interesting.
So and threats seem abstract. Like I go off into the wilderness by myself for as much as it's often 2 weeks or more.
But did you work up
And
to that? Like, how,
I don't even bring a first aid kit. I never even bring a first aid kit. And then I'm just again, I have low I'm an airhead and I have low situational awareness. But yet I walk out unscathed
yeah.
every time. Except one time I got hurt, but I was with some other people.
But is this something
Um,
that you've worked up to? Or have you always been like this? Like, kind of,
no, I started doing this. Okay, so my brother Steve was my hunting partner.
mhm.
Oh, back in Michigan until I was 27 years old. I mean, I didn't do anything in the backcountry. I mean, hunting was always just going and getting in your rig and driving somewhere and then hiking around or sitting in a tree stand. Uh, and then when I moved here, we started going into the backcountry. And then when my brother moved away, I started hunting by myself more. And I found that I enjoy it a lot. I'll go hunting for 5-6 days with other dudes, a week with other dudes. Almost every year I'd say I do that at least once.
Yeah.
But the main reason I hunt by myself is because other people don't want to go for as long as I like to go.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I don't feel like I worked up to it. I just want to go hunting for a long time. So I'm going to go hunting for a long time.
But see, to me, like, I don't know, your personality, like how you describe yourself, to me, that totally makes sense. Like you probably downplay how aware you are. Maybe things happen, but like for someone to go and spend 2 weeks by themselves in the wilderness, like that's no small feat, just because like you have to have some loosey-goosey personality. Otherwise, you're going to overthink it too much.
Oh, yeah. So if you're somebody that is very safety conscious,
that's not a good thing.
And then you're going to struggle in a situation like that, right? If you're somebody that's concerned about risks and things like that, then maybe but to me, it's like, I don't even think about it. I'm like, I'm going off by myself for a very long time.
Right.
And it's like, that doesn't feel any different to me, just in terms of my stress level or like my anxiety level, as driving to work. I'm going to go to work every day for the next 2 weeks. That's no different of a feeling than I'm going to go into the backcountry for the next 2 weeks.
But the thing is, like, your level of exposure to the backcountry is through the roof. And I've seen this before where, okay, in the backpacking world, I'll use backpackers as an example. There's the backpacker that brings everything, right? And big back and like a chair and like a huge first aid kit and like a coffee cup and all the things, right? Big,
I hunt with some guys like that. I am not that way.
Right. So we in the backpacking world, we say you're packing your fears, right? You pack your fears.
Oh, that's so interesting. And it's true. So the more anxiety somebody has, the more shit they bring. It's totally true.
So fast forward, I've spoken to calendar year triple crowners. Okay. I've interviewed.
What's that?
So calendar year triple crown is all the major big long trails: Appalachian Trail, Continental Divide Trail, and Pacific Crest Trail, all in a single season, all in a single calendar year.
How many miles is that?
That's like 8,000 miles.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Bonkers. Okay.
So they got to be doing the Appalachian Trail in the winter.
Yeah, dude.
Because those other two are more 100%. Severe. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. And they're like trying to, it's all about timing and where you start and where you stop, but you have to finish a calendar year triple crown. So triple crown is all 3 trails in one go, right? Calendar year. It's bonkers. But you look at them and you study their packs and you look at what they bring, and they're like you. They don't bring a first aid kit. They bring some stuff to get by, and they bring exactly what they need. They're dialed in, and they might be a little aloof to the risks, but they know it, and they know how to. It's not that they're aloof to the risks. It's not. I know one guy, dude. This dude, he did he was doing 50-mile days. So in his,
you probably have to get that to get that done, right?
But I'm talking to him. I was like, dude, he goes, I don't bring an air pad. And I was like, what do you mean you don't bring He goes, I don't bring a mattress at all whatsoever. And I was like, what are you talking? I was like, but they're there to, you don't have like a thin pad to insulate your body from the ground. He goes, I'm so tired. I used to bring, he's like, I used to bring one. I stopped bringing it because I didn't have the energy to even put it out.
That's me. That's me. I either bring nothing.
Yeah.
Most of the time I bring nothing, but if it's kind of cold, then I bring a foam pad.
Dude, he was so tired at the end of his days.
That's me. Like, that's the same thing. I just I can't be bothered. I just want to go to sleep.
And his body would sleep throughout the night, and he would do it again. So my point here is that, like, no first aid kit, no pad, whatever, and their kits are so small, they're not even they're cold soaking all their food. There's no stove involved. Their kit is the size of a water bottle. I mean, it's tiny, right? They're just bringing the essentials. They know the risks, but they also know how to solve the problem.
Okay. So now I
You know
don't
what?
feel like such an outlier. Maybe I'm.
No, you're not an outlier. You're an anomaly in the sense that like you've done it, you've put in the reps so often that you've solved problems that you know how to solve the problem. You know how to do it, and you know that if you get into a precarious situation, you can problem solve your way out of it. And
Here's
like
one problem
you're
that I
okay
would.
with it.
Here's one problem that keeps me up at night. What if you wake up in the morning and someone stole your boots?
Well, I mean,
Could you imagine?
yeah,
Could you imagine? Well,
depends
I
on
mean,
the
it
terrain. I
depends
guess
on.
you'd have a problem.
Oh, oh, I just can't imagine hiking out 10 miles
Dude,
over rocky ground with no
but you know what?
boots or
But you strike me as the type of person who would be like, what can I make some shoes out of?
yeah, get some
Do you know what
bark.
I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah, get some bark and
you're like walking out
string.
barefoot sounds really terrible, but I'm gonna like, I bet I can wrap some stuff around them. Like, and that's a difference in the personality, right? It's like you're not packing your fears anymore. Like, and also you're probably way more in the moment than a lot of people are. Otherwise, you cannot spend 2 weeks on your own if you're
Mm.
not in it.
Yeah, I'll have to study myself a little more. Because I do notice that sometimes some of the people when I go with other people, some of them they just seem a little bit anxious a lot of the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
where I'm just not, like
I mean,
people like people that set up a tent when it's nice. There's a lot of people I know that no matter what they'll set up. Like I'm not going to set up a tent. Like it's a
no, you're
starry
that
night.
person, dude. You're that person that's just done it too many times. You've done it so much that you're like, I don't need to set up a tent right now. Whereas, and it's all experience based. Like you're just, I don't think you're aware of how much you have packed in. Like you probably do, you probably know, but you don't know how it's affected you to the point where you're like, I can figure it out. Yeah, you're built like that's just how it is. Like
Okay.
your threshold's just way different than other people. And I think it's cool to know that there's people like you out there that are like, yeah, because I'm like, oh sweet, there's room to grow. It's like you want to get to the point of Zen of like, yeah, I'm just going. Cause that's what it is. That's what like that's the fun, right? It's like when you can just go and focus on the stuff that actually matters,
Yeah.
like then you've unlocked a whole different dimension, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, I sure do enjoy it. And I
Yeah,
do a lot
good.
when I'm not hunting too, and I enjoy that.
That's great.
Though I agree with you. I completely agree with you that it's a different feeling and a different mindset when you're not hunting as opposed to when you are.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to understand. Like when you put it's why I just think it's different. I don't understand it, but I do know that like when you enter the woods with a predator mindset of like, you're hunting, you're the predator. Um, I think it's a different energy. And I think that at least what I've learned and observed in my years of living is like life is all about different energies. You can feel it in the woods.
Hmm.
You can feel it. I firmly believe that like animals are out there surviving off of energy, and they have different boundaries, and they can feel when something shifts, and just like all the random stories of like your posture changes and a deer perks up. But if you're just like a passerby, they won't care. But if you change
Yeah.
if you change your stance, you change your energy, and it changes. And I think that affects us as well. And being able to have the opportunity to enter the woods with a different mindset is, I think, important.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've ever tried to articulate how I feel about what you just said with like energy and things like that before. But I think what I'd say is I don't believe that animals have anything beyond the five senses that we have. I just think that they have a way of communing with those senses, like combining them and
Totally.
and focusing on them in ways that generate very surprising and interesting behaviors.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, they're dialed in, right? I think you're right. I don't think they're like telepathic. Maybe they are. I don't know, but like they're using all of those senses just for survival, and I think that plays out in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I'll see it with my corgi. I'll be like, wait a minute, you just did that because I hunt with my corgi.
Mhm.
You just did that relying on sight, sound, hearing, taste, and smell. Like you combine those 5 things to do that, and that might be something like lead me back to camp, off trail for 5 miles, or find me a mile from camp on a day that you thought you didn't want to join me and then later decided that you did, which is something she has done a number of times,
That's hilarious.
So it's like, I can't put my 5 senses together to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, 90% of this got to be smell, but
yeah, still there's other. Yeah, I mean, fortunate for me, I got turned on to this whole like. I think there's a lot more going on than what we give credit for. Um, that hunt that I told you about, where I was like in that thick stuff, I kept feeling, I kept getting, I couldn't tell if I was like making it up in my head, but I was like, man, I feel like there's like energy pulses. Like I was like, I was really heightened. My alert, I was on like high alert, right? I was like in it, and so I was like really susceptible to like noises and things like that. And I felt like I would get close and I'd get far away, but I couldn't physically see it. And then that happened. I've had a number of other where I hunt is always very thick. So this is very, if you hunt open country, you're never going to feel this thing. But like if you hunt thick stuff where you can't, you know an animal's there, but you can't see it, or you think an animal's there, but you can't see it, and then they present themselves, you're like, wow. On more than one occasion, I've been in a scenario where I was like, something shifted, something's different in the woods. And I've been there long enough to know like this was the energy. There was nothing going on. Now there's weird feeling. And then it would go away and I'm like, there's no animal. But on like a number of occasions, then all of a sudden, like moments later, an animal presents itself that I did not know was there and it's close. And I'm like, oh, weird. I wonder if like, and I'm not tuned in all the time and I'm not like a special case or anything, but I was like, it would totally make sense that like they know where I'm at, I know where they're at, and like maybe I just happen to be so focused at that one time that I'm feeling some sort of like a boundary, and there they are. Like,
yeah, your 5 senses combined in some way that was beyond like
totally
your conscious understanding, and like alerted you ahead of time that you're about to see something.
Well, so I have a crazy like the one story. I was hunting with these other guys. We were kind of sitting on this field waiting for these elk to come in and like graze, and it was a meadow, and we were all kind of like sporadic around the meadow because they'd come in from different areas. And all of a sudden, it's like get to that time, that like animal time,
the bewitching hour.
Dude, I'd been sitting there for like hours, and so and all of a sudden I start getting like nervous. And I'm like, I tense, like, oh, dude, something's gonna pop out. And I was like, something's gonna pop out. I was gonna, like, I was like, am I overthinking this? And nothing happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, Emory, you're such an idiot. Like, dude, you're just like, like nothing happened. And I'm like, I'm making this up in my head. I'm like, oh, like
so it doesn't always work.
Well, dude, so we're walking back to the truck, and we meet you meet up with your buddies, and I'm like, dude, did you see him?
Like, they saw one by you and you didn't see it.
Dude, I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, dude, you had a spike like 50 yards from you.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, no, dude, I had no idea. But from their vantage point, he was like around the corner from me. And I was like, when did he come out? They're like, dude, like 45 minutes, like 30 minutes ago or whenever it was. And I was like, oh, dude, I was like, yeah, maybe this is like a thing. Like,
oh, I'm jealous, man. I don't have the animal early alarm system that you do, that you have. Every time I'm posted up somewhere waiting for something and it shows up, I'm like, holy shit, there's one.
Yeah.
It catches me completely off guard.
If I could actually hone it in, that maybe I'd be like successful. But you know what? What's interesting is that I've actually equated this. I was like, okay, if this is true, it's like the most successful hunters, and I know you know them, like the old men that like have hunted, and they have just like crushed it, right? Their energy is fairly calm. Like, at least they're not high-strung individuals. Like, I've known many old men that, like, had stories to tell, and every time they went in the woods and they were successful, and they were all very calm individuals.
Mm.
And I was like, I bet that helps. I bet if you're high-strung, you're anxious from the day.
Yeah, I'd say that the three or four people that I think of as truly elite
Yep.
are definitely not spazzes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. They're probably not using Bluetooth to calculate their drop
No,
technology.
no, no. And none of these guys are at all enamored of gadgetry either.
Yeah.
That's another unifying feature.
Yep.
Well, my friend, thank you so much. If
Yeah.
there's nothing else, I'm going to go eat my supper.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate the conversation.
Oh, it was
I
super
really enjoyed
fun.
it.
Me too. All right.
All right, man.
Talk to you later. Bye.
See ya.